Hey guys, okay, it came to my attention the other day when I was grocery shopping myself that sometimes it's really hard to read labels. And some things that sound like they're really great for us, oftentimes are not. And even the food companies are capitalizing off of words we use, like paleo and keto and grain free. And I'm seeing a lot more of that, dairy free, in the stores on packages. So I decided it was really important, based on my own experience, to talk to you about how to decide if that's actually good or not. And of course, the first and most simple of all is, does it come in a box, a package, or a bag? Then it's probably not okay, right? If it's processed food in any way, even if it's paleo or keto processed food, it's still processed food. We should be filling our plates with real food. That means meat and vegetables or fruit. And that's it. And then obviously there's the additional fats we cook with, and I'm going to talk about that. And then there's the fermented foods. And so then we get into these other things. And so I want to talk about which ones of those are good and which ones of those are bad, and how to not get trapped in the food label scam. Because so often food labels are misleading. It's what I call label paint. What it says on the front is not what's on the back. So today, my table is covered with some of my favorite things I buy, mostly for my kids, not really for me. I eat 2 meals a day, meat and vegetables, some fruits, especially in the morning I have fruit. Sometimes I do 3 meals a day. I'm actually experimenting right now with an intermittent fast, but still incorporating 3 meals, breaking my fast earlier in the day, starting my fast later in the afternoon. And so I'm always still kind of playing with my own biohack. What does my body like best? But some of these are tried and true. And especially when you're getting started, I think it's really hard. And if you have kids, I've always said your kids should eat exactly like you. Your kids are not an exception. So although my kids do snack more than I do because they're athletes and they're young and they need more calories and they're busy and they run through the house and grab things to graze on, I have these things here for them. And they know that everything in our pantry and our refrigerator is fair game. That everything here is safe. They never have to worry about if something has bad ingredients, because that's my job. And I've already screened those things before they come into this house. So these are some of their favorite snacks and some of my favorite staples. So where do I want to start? Let's start with cooking fats and dressings and those kinds of things. Marinades, dressings are one of the top places that rancid oils and gluten and sugar hide. So it's really important that just because something says fat-free or low sugar or sugar-free doesn't necessarily mean that it is, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's good. And or keto or paleo. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest things I ran into when I was at the store the other day was that there was this rash of keto foods, keto-friendly foods. Everything in the store said keto-friendly, which really started me thinking, because I knew that they weren't. So I started to pick up packages, and I swear that people in the grocery store must think I'm crazy, because I read every label before I put something in my cart. And oftentimes I fling it back at wherever I got it from, because I'm pissed off and I just throw it back. So I grab it, I read the label, and I throw it, and I don't give a shit. Anyway, so I'm pulling these things down, and there was a keto-friendly bread. So I looked at the ingredients. First ingredient, whole wheat flour. Okay. There was a paleo-friendly, gluten-free chicken nugget, and one of the ingredients was soy protein isolate. Okay. Those are not okay. Under any circumstances, never in your life can that enter into your body. Either one of those. Just because it said keto or paleo or gluten-free on the front, it's still your enemy all the time. It's not even an okay cheat or something that on a lax day you could accept. No way, no how, not ever. So remember that first of all, keto has to be paleo. So if it has whole wheat or it has whole grains or it has any of those things, it's not keto, it's not paleo, it's not healthy, and it's not safe. It's not safe for human consumption. Not for you, not for your children, not for your loved ones, not for your dog, okay? It's not okay. So I threw the bread in a very dramatic fashion because I wanted everyone in the store to know not to have that. And same with the gluten-free bagels and the keto-friendly bagels and all that stuff. It's all crap. It's all crap. So what can you do when you see those things? So, for example, because I'm going to start with fats. So one of the things, we had a friend at a party bring a salad and brought skinny girl dressings because she knows that we're healthy. And that was, she thought, a good option. But remember, healthy doesn't mean skinny, and healthy certainly does not mean low fat. And so this skinny girl dressing, which was actually a low sugar dressing, skinny girl doesn't use bad oils usually. You have to read every one because they're all different. But they do use sugar alternatives or sugar alcohols. And so remember that erythritol, which is in a lot of keto-friendly, low-carb products, destroys the gut microbiome. And the whole point of everything you're doing is to fix the gut, fix the human. If your gut is not healthy, if the lining of your intestine and your gut microbiome are not thriving, no other part of your body can. Your organs don't thrive, your brain doesn't thrive, your skin doesn't thrive, your weight can't shed it, or you can't gain it, whichever one is your problem, it just depends. And so the gut is the most important thing. So anything that negatively impacts the lining of the intestine or the bacteria that resides inside your intestines is not good. Very easy. So sugar alcohols affect the gut microbiome. They also act exactly like sugar. So if you're diabetic, just because it's sugar-free does not mean that it won't spike your insulin and cause metabolic issues. If you're insulin resistant, then having those sugar alcohols is going to make it worse. It does, in fact, despite what they tell you, negatively affect your insulin and your metabolic health. So those are all no's. No Splenda, no sucralose, no aspartame, no acesulfamate potassium, which is not potassium at all, but another name for aspartame. Erythritol, xylitol. The only exception I make to xylitol is toothpaste. You want xylitol in your toothpaste. You want it in if you have ever seen me recommend X-Clear nasal spray for sinus infections, xylitol acts as an antibiotic in those cases. It's antibacterial. And xylitol also helps the enamel in the teeth, which is why we put it in toothpaste. But those are the only two uses. I wouldn't consume it as a food. Okay, so fats, go to dressings. So there are a couple companies of dressings I really, really, really love. So one of those, these are both Tessemae. Where'd the other? I thought I had another one from Primal Kitchen. I guess not. This is the barbecue sauce from Primal Kitchen. Our grocery store sells this. Sprouts sells it. Whole Foods sells it. Walmart even now carries Primal Kitchen in lots of things. The mayonnaise that I love that is my favorite is a Primal Kitchen mayonnaise. This is a 0 sugar barbecue sauce. They also make a ketchup that is 0 sugar. Another alternative to the Primal Kitchen mayo, although I like Primal Kitchen better, I use this Better Body Foods avocado-based mayo for cooking. I like this for sauces and things. I'm going to stir it up like when I make my own dressings, whereas just using mayo, I only use the Primal Kitchen. They also come in flavors. There's a chipotle in each of them, whatever. My other favorite dressing company is Tessemae's. This is their old packaging, their old label. This is an individual serving size, which I buy off their website because I put them in the kids' lunches when I send them with vegetables or salads. And then this is their bottles. And this is their new packaging. This is the Buffalo Ranch These are all avocado oil based or olive oil based. There's no corn oil, no soybean oil, no canola oil, no sunflower seed oil, which also goes rancid very fast. So there are some times you'll see where we allow sunflower oil in applications occasionally, but it shouldn't be an oil you consume very much because it is very rancid, it causes inflammation, right? You want to stick to your low inflammatory, high omega-3 fats. So best fats are going to be tallow, butter, ghee, real pasture lard, duck fat. I use a duck fat. This is Fatworks. They also make tallow and lard. They sell this at Walmart now. So it also doesn't break the bank to eat healthy at all. Walmart sells this spray duck fat, which I love for anything that I'm cooking in a frying pan or in my air fryer. I also use this, by the way, on my smoker and my grill. These I picked up at Aldi, and they have no additional ingredients, just coconut oil and avocado oil. That's it. And they're spray coconut oil, spray avocado oil, really inexpensive. Aldi is great if you take the time to read the labels. And that's what I want to talk about today, is where this stuff came from, so you know. I believe that my biggest investment is food. I've said this a million times over the course of the last 12 years that I've done what I do. My food bill outweighs my housing expenses. We spend way more on food than we do on our mortgage, but we are a family of 5 and I feed extra children. So typically on any given day, I'm feeding 8. So I spend a lot of money on groceries, but I also really work to make my dollar go further. So I love Aldi. There's some things I will get at Walmart, although Walmart I hate. I love Sprouts. I use them as much as I can. I love Thrive Market online because anything that I can get delivered to my house at a lower price without having to leave is awesome. And then in between, I use my regular grocery store. I use Winn-Dixie predominantly for meats because the pricing is better. And I use Publix for harder to find items because if my Publix doesn't carry it and I tell the store manager I want it, they will get it just for me. So if there's something like that I really want, then I go to Publix. And I know people in different regions have different grocery stores. Get to know your grocery store manager because they're responsible for ordering. And if you ask for something, they'll usually find it for you. Okay, so talked about fats. Let's move some of the stuff out of the way. Talked about dressings. Okay, so let's move this stuff out of the way. Another staple I have in terms of things I cook with, instead of soy sauce, we use coconut aminos. You can also buy soy aminos like Bragg's, which is organic soy aminos, and it is a fermented soy, which is fine. I prefer to avoid all soy, so we use the coconut aminos. I have a family history of breast, ovarian, and uterine cancer. I don't do any soy if I can help it. Okay. What about breading things, right? If I'm going to flour something, like for instance, I have a paleo chicken nugget recipe that I make for my kids and they're my kids' friends. I use tapioca starch. Tapioca starch is the same plant that cassava flour comes from. It's just processed in a different way. One makes tapioca starch, one makes cassava flour. Their texture is different at the end. That's the major difference. So if I'm baking, I use cassava. If I'm dredging something, I'm using tapioca starch. It's also very cheap, about $1 a pound at the local Asian market, or about $3 a pound at the local grocery store. I found these at Walmart. Again, they're called pork. They're panko breadcrumbs made from pork rinds. It's just ground down pork rinds. You could do that yourself. But in a pinch, these were really great because I made something that I needed panko breadcrumbs for, and I needed a substitute, and I saw these, and they were awesome, and the kids thought it was great. Okay, so back to flours and stuff like that. Alternative flours include almond flour, coconut flour, cassava flour. tapioca starch, arrowroot flour. Those are your top ones. I try to avoid almond flour if I can. The only time I really use it is when I'm making something dense, and that's usually only at Christmas time. The only time I bake all year long is Christmas. So that's really, well, Thanksgiving through Christmas. So that's the only time I use that. Remember that nuts, when you're using a nut-based flour or nut butters, for example, it's really consolidated. You would eat a handful of nuts, but in a tablespoon of nut butter, you have several cups of nuts. So it's ground down, it's heavily concentrated, which means it's very high in calories. It's also very high in phytic acid, which is one of the plant toxins. It's one of the reasons we avoid grains, because grains and legumes have the highest level of phytic acid, which attacks the lining of the intestine and causes disease. And so, and causes leaky gut, which then leads to disease and inflammation and all of that. So be mindful when you're talking about nuts of how much you consume. So nut flours and nut butters, I don't really like. Once in a while, sure. Every day as a snack, absolutely not. Don't put them in your smoothies, all that crap. No. But I do buy whole foods. So I would rather, if you're gonna have nuts, instead of having nut butter or nut flour, have whole nut. To me, the ones I like the most are sunflower seeds, unsalted, and read the label, because this is a place. I once had a friend who had my kids over and called me to apologize and said, I got sunflower seeds because I knew that your kids could have those as a snack, and then I looked at the ingredients and there were 30 ingredients on the pack of sunflower seeds. He said, I had no idea there were so many preservatives in sunflower seeds. So when you buy nuts, it should have 2 ingredients, the nut and sea salt, and nothing else. These are from Aldi. They're fantastic. They're shelled and they have sea salt, and that's it. The only oil that gets added is the oil from the nuts as they roast them. Same with the pumpkin seeds, macadamia nuts, which are raw. Those are my favorites. Sometimes I use pecans and walnuts, but again, that's mostly in dishes, in meals, or like on top of a salad. I don't just snack on them. And I don't snack often. So lots of times what I'll do is I'll like put the pistachios on top of a salad, or I'll crush the pistachios and put them on top of fish, or I will put them in, like, I'll put some nuts on top of yogurt if I'm using my full fat pastured raw yogurt and I want to add some extra calories to it. I'll put coconut and nuts or fruit or whatever on top of it. So anyway, and again, all these, this same bag of pistachios at Publix costs $16, around there. And this is $5 at Aldi. So, okay, drinking. Everybody always asks me what the alternative is to milk, especially when I tell you guys to be dairy free. And so I use, my go-to milk is coconut milk, not almond milk, because again, high in phytates, but also almonds, when you consolidate them down so much, they're a phytoestrogen, so you have a lot of estrogen in that. So for some of the same reasons that we avoid soy, which is a phytoestrogen and a carcinogen and all of those other things, not to mention inflammatory and high in phytates, too many almonds can lead to raising the estrogen in both men, women, and in children. So we don't want to do that because we're trying to avoid that. That's why we avoid endocrine disruptors in our products and all of that. And we avoid commercial soaps because it raises estrogen levels in men and women. So I like coconut milk, unsweetened, unflavored, just plain. I like the Silk because they don't use carrageenan. Carrageenan is an additive that you want to watch out for because it causes cancer. And Silk is one of the few that doesn't. 365 brand by Whole Foods also doesn't. But you have to be careful because the other one, Almond Breeze, they do. So be conscientious of that. In terms of coffee creamer, and this does use almonds, but I don't use very much of this, and I got this because the kids wanted something for their iced coffee. These are nut pods. We met these people a few years ago back at PaleoFX. It is a nut-based coffee creamer, and it has hazelnuts, coconut, almonds. There's all different ones. It comes in like 5 flavors. I have a bunch of them here, and notice they're not even opened yet because we use them so frequently. But anyway, okay. What next? Bread substitutes. I hate bread substitutes. Get used to not having bread. Bread is evil. It's the devil. Just avoid it. But I like to do wraps for the kids, especially in their lunch boxes. And so we have started getting these, which I really, really like. And actually, I think they're pretty yummy. They actually have these top ones, Egg Life, have no flavor whatsoever. The kids are like, it really just holds everything together. There's no flavor. But they are flat egg white wraps. And they come in different flavors. So this has everything bagel seasoning in it. This one has Cajun seasoning in it. It's called the Southwest style. And this one is the original, which is just plain and has no seasoning. There's also these cauliflower crepini, which is nothing more than egg whites. And they are gluten and grain free, paleo friendly. But you still want to turn them over and read them, because you never know. And one of the things I see a lot of is rice flour being added to things, and it's called paleo or gluten-free or keto-friendly or paleo-friendly. Rice flour is not paleo-friendly. There are some people who tolerate organic white rice and only organic white rice. But usually if it says rice flour, they're using brown rice, and that is highly toxic. 1, it's high in arsenic. 2, it's high in phytic acid. So it's going to cause all of the same problems that wheat flour is going to cause. So if something has brown rice in it, run as fast as you can away from that. So these are egg whites, whole eggs, cauliflower powder, dehydrated cauliflower, olive oil, and sea salt. It does contain a little xanthan gum as a binder, and that's okay. I actually have a post in Bedrock about xanthan gum and why that's actually not one of the additives that we run from. Now, talking about things that go on my kids' lunches that we love. So one of our favorite things to snack on and put in their lunches are plantain chips. And I get these, there's a store here called Bulk Nation where they do them in bulk and you just buy everything in bulk. This brand Iberia come in this big ass container, comes from Walmart. And I think this whole big container was $6. It's really not expensive, and clearly we don't go through them very fast. But all it is cut up plantains. Green plantains, by the way, are high in resistant starch, which means it feeds the gut microbiome instead of the human being. So it's a kind of starch, a kind of carbohydrate that you don't digest, but your gut microbiome does. So I really like green plantains in lots of dishes. It is one of the things we'll use when we're trying to make a starchier dish. I do it a lot when we make Hispanic style foods. I do smashed plantains. I do plantain chips. We use plantains for lots of things. I do sweet plantains. Like I don't use the sweet plantains. I use the green plantains, but then I saute them in butter and cinnamon and whatever. So lots of ways. They're very, very versatile. Love plantains. Okay, so the other thing that goes on my kids' lunch almost every day are little guacamole singles with some carrot sticks or celery sticks or green onions cut down, or cucumber sticks, whatever. And there's a couple different brands that we use, but I was really super stoked to be at Aldi and see that they had one that was organic, non-GMO, spicy, because we like things spicy, that had no crappy ingredients in it. It is actually avocado, tomato, onion, lime juice, jalapeno, water, salt, serrano pepper, granulated garlic, vinegar, cilantro, and that's it. So no sugar added, no preservatives added, and 6 little singles was like $3 or $4. So the price was great. Kids used a package last week. This is the new package. One of the things my kids eat a lot of, and these are great for like also crunching up and sprinkling on things for a little extra flavor. These also came from Aldi. So see, doesn't break the bank, guys, but you have to be smart, are just dried fruits. There's nothing in there. There's no sugar. Ingredient, mango, ingredient, Fuji apples. I do the strawberry ones. I do banana chips. I do, there's a mixed berry one, whatever. Organic, non-GMO, no sugar added, just dried fruit. These are great after-school snacks for the kids in the car. They take them to sports practices with them. This is my other one. I'm a big fan of beef jerky. We go through a lot of beef jerky. We make our own beef jerky. We predominantly buy Primal Kitchen beef jerky because it is soy-free, sugar-free. There's no sweeteners added, and it's grass-fed. But I'm spending $8 for a package this size on that from my grocery store. It's $7.69 or something per package, and I go through close to 10 packages a week. So that's $75 just in beef jerky if I don't have any here that we made. So I found these at Aldi, and these are biltong, but they also have the jerky in the same brand, and they do have grass-fed jerky, but it's beef, vinegar, salt, raisin juice is the only sweetener, and spices. I like the biltong because it doesn't have soy, but the other one does use gluten-free tamari, fermented organic soy, which is okay, and kids do okay with that. So I have replaced what I was spending way more money on, and I think those were $3.50 a package instead of $7.50 a package. As a treat, occasionally, my kids will get chips or crackers or a gluten-free pretzel or did I say cookie, or like a bar, like what is the name of Simple Mills is a good company that I like. If you're buying from the grocery store or from Sprouts, Simple Mills is, all of their stuff is truly paleo. They have come out with a more gluten-free line, so again, be careful. You want the grain-free versions of what they have, not just the gluten-free ones. They make cake mixes, they make icing mixes, they make ready-made cookies, they make crackers, they do all kinds of stuff, and they're a company we've used for years. But again, I happened to be at Aldi last week trying to cut my bill down, because my normal bill for just lunches for the week, just school lunches, is about $350. And I noticed that with the price increases at the grocery store and how much my $350 had gone up to $500 a week just on lunches. That doesn't include our dinners. And I needed to cut that down. So I was able to get all the same stuff I usually get, most of it, outside of meats and things like that. Well, even the meats, because I did do some lunch meats. I'll talk about that in a second. But I was able to get all the things I normally get twice as much. So I did spend $500, but I bought 2 weeks worth instead of 1 week worth. So I'm down below what I was spending weekly at Publix, which was about between $3 and $3.50. So these are coconut cashew crisps. They're little cookie wafers. They're tiny little wafers. They're hard little cookies, and they came in a couple different flavors. But they have only 6 ingredients. They are gluten-free, paleo, vegan, and non-GMO. And their only ingredients are coconut palm sugar, which is a nutritive sweetener. Coconut palm sugar is also low glycemic. Cashews, cocoa powder, cassava flour, and sea salt. And there is nothing else in them. And these were pretty good. They're empty, by the way, clearly. So somebody liked them. These got mixed reviews from my children. These are gluten-free, grain-free pretzels. And I bought 2 different ones. These are the plain, and they also had one that was garlic flavored. And I thought they were really good. Half the family thought they were good. Half the family thought they were crap. So whatever. They definitely are not super salty. But they were really, actually, I thought, flavorful. Anyway, they're made with cassava flour, which is not low carb, by the way. It is paleo, but it's not keto. Cassava flour, potato starch, palm oil, tapioca starch. They did add a little bit of fava bean for extra protein. It uses tapioca syrup, which is not the best. These were because it is high glycemic, but these were literally a one-time treat, and it didn't go over real well. Salt, flax, and then instead of soy lecithin, which gets used as an emulsifier, they did use sunflower lecithin, which is better. And sunflower lecithin has gamma-linoleic acid in it, which is, so it actually gets used as a supplement sometimes. You'll hear people talk about taking sunflower lecithin capsules. I don't recommend that necessarily. There's better forms of GLA, but as a emulsifier in food, it's one of the less problematic, shall we say. Anyway, probably won't get these again though. The one thing I want to say about that though is that cassava flour is great occasionally, but again, it's not something that's intended for daily use because you can actually harm yourself with too much cassava. But as an occasional substitute for something, like if I make a birthday cake, I'll use cassava flour. There's 5 of us. There's 4 birthday cakes a year. So that's about the only time I use it. Okay, I have these and these. Okay, so I like fermented foods. I love to make my own sauerkraut. I love to make my own kimchi. I like to pickle vegetables. I love pickles. If you're buying fermented foods, like pickles, for example, and you're buying them in the aisle, you're doing it wrong. Fermented foods have to be refrigerated. So only the ones in the refrigerator section are truly fermented. The rest are just chemical shitstorms. So in my grocer's, where the produce is, in the refrigerator section of the produce, I like to get my kimchi and sauerkraut. So this kimchi is one that I use, but this company, Cleveland Kraut, I love them. They make kimchi, they make all different kinds of sauerkraut. They do a fantastic job. They're really, really clean ingredients, and we do use a lot of fermented foods. I only have kimchi left because I ate the last of the sauerkraut yesterday. And then the last thing, and this is only for those of you either who aren't struggling with inflammation, aren't trying to lose weight, or who we know tolerate dairy okay, are these little cheese crisps. These are called moon cheese. These are the Parmesan crisps. Instead of crackers, it's just fried cheese. And there's nothing else, salt, whatever. I did pick these up, and we use these at our Christmas party, which is why I have a bag left, because I don't use them very often. But I brought these out for the same reason as the pretzels, because occasionally, like that once in a while time, these are not so bad. So these are, when I buy crackers, I buy the Crunchmaster brand. They make a grain-free cracker, and I'll have those with tuna salad or whatever. On my higher carb days, I'll have those that use cassava flour. This is one of those. This is a flavored one though. So this is their Bistro Crisps, and they are margarita pizza flavored. It's cassava flour, tapioca starch. Then they use a pizza-based seasoning like oregano, rosemary, tomato powder, garlic, onion, and yeast. And then they add extra virgin olive oil, and they use a little monk fruit, olive oil, again, yeah, twice. And then coconut flour and sesame flour. And then they used turmeric to color them orange so they look like nacho chips. But the point of all of this, now that I've spoken for 30 minutes about what's in my pantry, is you can never stop reading ingredients, because I have had companies that I trusted, that I've used their products for years, that all of a sudden changes their formula. A few years ago, Primal Kitchen sold, Mark Sisson sold the brand to Kraft for a few $1 million, made a pretty penny. But when Kraft took over, I didn't know if they were going to change the formula. He didn't negotiate into the contract that for like 5 years they couldn't change any of his formulas. But at some point, They will. Why? Because it's cheaper. And so you have to watch that kind of stuff. And especially as some of these small boutique food companies sell out to bigger companies, those companies want to conserve money and raise profits. And they do so by adding cheap ingredients. And that's why so many of our foods are actually frankenfood. They're fake, they're harmful, they're chemicals, because that's much cheaper than real food. So be aware, be conscientious, and the most important thing is to know that just because something says it's paleo or keto or gluten-free or gluten-friendly or keto-friendly or paleo-friendly or whatever label they want to use, there was a company using, it was a knockoff, because Primal Kitchen had a line that was Cave something. And this company came out with a label that looked almost exactly like it and used some of the phrase, but it was completely unrelated and it had terrible ingredients, but people were grabbing it thinking it was this other thing. That kind of stuff happens all the time. Food manufacturers are really smart. They know how to use your genetics to your detriment, but to their profitability. So they pay food engineers a lot of money to trick you on purpose every day. Why? Because if you can become addicted to their food, you will buy more, eat more, hurt yourself, and come back for more, and they will just keep rolling in the cash. So you have to be a smarter consumer and say, I will not be trapped by this system that I exist within, and I'm going to step outside that system and do better for myself and my family. Anyway, so whole foods, real fruits and vegetables, not juices. Remember that juices like nuts, butters, and nuts, flours consolidates the sugar of the fruit and eliminates the fiber of the fruit. So fruit juices are not for consumption. You can use a fruit juice to flavor something. You can use fruit juice in lieu of sugar to sweeten something, like a sauce. If you're going to sweeten your barbecue sauce, you can add a little bit of prune juice or apple juice to that, but it wouldn't consume juices. I wouldn't ever drink a glass of juice. Exception to that is the tomatoes that we use in the tomato tea. That's it. Okay. I think that's everything. If you guys have questions, if there's a favorite food of yours you want me to examine the label, please send it to us. We love that. Post it in Bedrock Nation as a question, and we'll get to it. We'll research the ingredients and we'll get back to you. If you're in the store and you don't know what to buy, reach out to your mentor. If you're struggling with, are these ingredients good for me or not? That's what the team is here for. Ask them and they will get back to you as soon as they can. I hope that you guys have a wonderful day. We'll talk to you soon.